Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Chelsea Axe.
Hey, Dr. Josh Axe here.
And today we just want to go over our birth story. We've gotten a ton of questions, even about whether or not we're going to share it. So we just want to go over some of the details, partially just for us. So we have something to kind of look back on and remember all the details. We know as time goes on, all the details get very hazy, especially, some of the big details. So we're just going to kind of go over it all. I know I had a bunch of you submit questions, so we're going to try to hit those throughout the story as well. Answer as many as we can. So we can just jump right in.
All right, let's do it.
So I was overdue technically when I gave birth. I was, like due dates, they're like an estimated due date, right? So like when people say like, when are you due? It's never an actual, like you're due on this time, right? Like the body it's not like 40 weeks, time is up. Like everybody's body is different. Every baby, is different for how long they're in the uterus and they're growing. So you hit 40 weeks and then you're kind of like, you're ready, but you want to give the baby time. So I actually technically went 10 days past what our estimated due date was. So one of the big questions I got was, is there anything we did to induce labor?
Sure. And I do want to say that, one of the things after talking to a few midwives too, going 10 days over actually for the first pregnancy is probably more normal. I mean, it's probably more normal.
Much more normal. Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, for us, knowing that, we really believe that the body is smart, the body is ready when it's ready. And so you just want to do everything you can to create just a great environment of just love and health for the baby. And that's really what we focused on doing.
Yeah, low stress.
And so for inducing labor, there are obviously, there are several strategies. We have a good friend of ours, Genevieve Howland, who gave us some great advice. She goes by Mama Natural, so she's a great person to check out. So between talking to her and the midwife, but we did some evening primrose / borage oil, some of the GLA. So you did a little bit of that.
Yeah, and that was probably, when did we start that? Around 37 weeks. So actually when I hit technically full term, we started with some of that.
Yep.
Red raspberry leaf tea. I'd been doing that. I started that probably in like my second trimester, but I actually increased the amounts. I was doing probably 3 to 4 cups a day once I hit full term, and it was strong tea, so I was brewing it pretty strong as well.
Dates.
I was definitely doing dates. If you actually, again, go to mamanatural.com, she has a whole list of like the amount of dates that you should be taking. It can help support your body, again, into going labor naturally.
You were moving a lot, you were walking, we were doing lots of walks.
Squatting, anything, low stress, anything that I could, anytime your body's in stress, you're, it's not good, not the best environment for inducing labor or anything like that. So that, I'm trying to think if there's other methods that you can do, some of which, there can be a little controversial. And so that's kind of the main things that we tried.
Yeah, those are the big things.
Yeah.
Intercourse.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So guys like that one.
All the things. We did try all the things, and my mom actually went into labor earlier than her estimated due date with all 3 of her kids.
Yeah.
So I was actually expecting that I would be a little earlier, but actually from the beginning, our midwife predicted the date.
That's crazy.
The date from the very first time that I saw her at 12 weeks.
She's like, you'll go about 10 days over,
She's like,
I
you'll
think.
go 10 days over.
And you did.
And I did, right on the dot.
So anyways, and so jumping in, let's go ahead and tell the birth story and then we can answer some of the questions here. But, I think you started having contractions the night before, probably about day 9 after due date.
In the night. Nothing consistent, nothing like timeable, but enough to where it kind of woke me up. I was uncomfortable. I wasn't really able to sleep very well.
Well, you were up all night because rolling
I was
around.
rolling and tossing and turning type of thing. This is the night before. But I woke up, eventually went to sleep. Next day, woke up, didn't have any contractions, but knew my body was preparing.
Yeah, you could tell. You could feel that. And then, later on that next evening, you started having really strong contractions. I went out to go pick up food. Where did I go?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
Oh, Urban Market.
Oh, Urban Market. That's right. Urban Market. We love Urban Market there in Franklin.
I wanted some sourdough.
You did. Wanted sourdough bread, maybe their turkey melt, and then I wanted their tacos. So anyways, ran down there to get food, came back up, and around that time you just were feeling, you were starting to have some pretty strong contractions.
Yeah, they weren't close together or anything, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, this is it. I was like, let's put on a movie.
That was around 6 p.m.
That was around 6.
So we put on a movie we hadn't seen in years, Multiplicity.
Yeah.
Hilarious. So.
And I didn't eat dinner. Like, he brought the food home. I wanted it, but it didn't sound good. I was, kind of in the midst of just feeling off. I was like, I'll eat in a little bit. So we put on the movie, and probably 15 minutes in.
I was about 6:30.
Yeah.
You started having some really some
I went in the
contractions.
bedroom. I was gonna grab some, like a sweatshirt or something, and then I remember I was like, I'm just gonna lay down for a little bit. This is, there's a couple I just want to breathe through, and I never came back from that.
Yeah, and obviously I'll say this, I've worked with thousands of patients in the past, and many moms who are going through pregnancy and supporting them and going to the hospital afterwards, and and working with their nutrition before, and also sometimes even doing adjustments after on kids. And but I will say still, when you have your own wife and spouse going through it, like my respect level for Chelsea's a 10 and went even higher than a 10 if that's even possible. Just to say, because you were such a warrior through the whole thing. And also just looking at, obviously if you're if you're a woman here and you've given birth, it's excruciating. There's a lot of pain through that process. And so just seeing the amount of pain you were in really, obviously affects the husband. The husband wishes they could do more. Like, I wish I could have done more. But you were having those heavy contractions. And then you decided you wanted to get in the shower. You thought that might help, just some warm water. I
love taking showers. I'm not a huge bath person. We were planning a water birth, but I wanted to get in the shower. I just thought it's super relaxing for me, and we have a big enough shower where you can kind of move around a little bit.
Yep. And then we're talking, so you started timing contractions. You're about 5.5 minutes apart between each, about a minute and a half then for each or so, a minute to minute and a half. So then I called the midwife and he said, hey, here's where we're at. And she said, hey, when we get to under 5, maybe even down to, and definitely before 4, go ahead and give me a call and I'll come over.
This is probably around 10:30.
It's earlier. It was probably like
9.
It was probably like 9, between 9 and 10.
Yeah, she said, try to, if you can, get some sleep. She said, make sure you eat something, because if your body kicks in to like go tonight, you're gonna want some food for sustenance. So I remember you went and got like a little oatmeal fruit pack or something.
Oatmeal fruit pack.
I was like, I can't eat.
And some coconut water, just to get potassium, staying hydrated.
So I downed the last thing you want to do when you're in the middle. And again, it wasn't like, it was probably like 5.5 minutes apart, but still, like the last thing you're thinking about at that point.
Well, you don't want to eat. You're very
food.
uncomfortable, of course.
So I just quick downed it. I'm like, let's just get this in my body and move on.
Again, I'd almost it was coercing and making you eat it, but you did. And so anyways, and then Chelsea starts timing, and then I said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and start timing, because at that point you were in a lot of pain. And I said, hey, let me go ahead and start timing.
So I'd gotten back in the shower. And one thing I will say, if you are having a home birth or you're gonna want to labor in the shower or anything, one of the best things that we got was this. It's like for gardening, like it's a big
just a mat for your
thing.
knees.
If you're gonna be like on the shower floor, just something soft. And then I had a small ball, like workout ball, like a birthing ball or whatever.
Just to support yourself on.
Those are huge things that helped me during that time. So
and so then anyways, I said, hey, I'll start timing. I started timing, and Chelsea got down to around, in my, using the timer, 4 minutes. And I'm like, hey, and then what she told me was, I said, hey, I think you're down close to 4 minutes. She said, you're not doing it right. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I am doing it right, but okay, maybe I'm not. I'm like, hey, I know you've read it even more than I have, and so hey, go ahead and you go. She's like, let me time myself. I said, okay. So I let her time herself for about an hour and a half, a little over an hour. And she was in the shower. I was just in the bedroom, just listening in, just supporting her. And then I said, hey, it sounds like, just in my head, like, this seems like this number is really down closer to like 2 or 3. Like, seems really low. I'm like, and she's like, no, I'm fine. It's still around 5. And I said, okay. So I gave it another little bit. I kept listening, and I'm like, man, this just seems like it's really low. I'm like, can I see this timer? Well, I grab her phone, this timer here, and I'm like, babe, this says 2 minutes. Like, I'm looking at all of these numbers. They're like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And so, anyways, I get on the phone, and I call the midwife. I accidentally called my friend, Dr. Dan Sullivan, at midnight, because it was wrong number anyways. But we called Mary Ann, midwife, and I said, hey, we're down here around 2 minutes. And she's like, you should have called me like 2 hours ago. So anyways, call Mary Ann.
And she lives 45 minutes away.
Yeah. Other midwife assistant, Holly comes over as well, or is on her way over. Well, first off, and I'm like, the bathtub isn't quite filled yet, so I start running around like trying to fill the bathtub. Well, the knob breaks off. And so it's leaking everywhere, filling the birth pool.
Yeah.
So I'm literally taking buckets and dumping them from the tub,
bathtub into the birth pool,
because the nozzle to go in the actual birth pool wasn't working. Finally, and then I'm running around grabbing towels, because I said, hey, you need warm towels, throwing those in the dryer.
Yeah. Well, at that point, Marianne got on the phone. She said, listen, baby might come before I'm there. So you need to have warm towels ready. So she'd gone over with us a whole protocol, if something happens where labor is 2 seconds long, here's what you need to do, to help deliver this baby and to have ready until one of us gets there, type of thing, or until we call an emergency services or whatever. So there was a protocol that we had gone over with her, but when you're in the moment, it's different. And some people would ask, why did you wait so long? Okay, so one thing about me.
Yeah.
I am very competitive and I'm very stubborn. I know that. I admit it.
You also don't like inconveniencing people.
I don't. I feel bad. And I know that doesn't even make sense in this, it at all.
No, it does not.
But I was in my head, I was I'm not, I didn't want to be the person who I'm at the level of and again, I didn't want to call her at when I was 2 centimeters dilated just to have her stand around. I was no, I can wait. I've got time.
First off, your pain tolerance is on a scale of 10 is close to a 10. And so but I know Chelsea does not like to inconvenience people, and that's why
I just wanted to be sure. I've heard enough stories about people thinking this is for sure it, and then their body actually didn't go into labor, or when you've never done it before. I don't know what this is in my head. I have a high pain tolerance, but it hurts, and I was definitely at a high level of pain. It wasn't that. It was just I was just in my head, I don't think I'd really given myself over to the fact of this is it.
And you were in a lot of pain, so it was.
And I was a little bit in the zone.
And I don't do things right quite often. So who knows? I could have been doing the time wrong, even though I was doing it wrong. But that's a whole other thing. So anyway, so I call Mary and she's rushing over. I'm running around. Finally, this knob that had broken off. I'm trying to hold it. I'm maybe I can get it in the right place. And I'm praying over the knob, and finally, literally, it stays. So I'm not having to manually dump buckets into this birth tub so it holds. The other midwife gets there, starts helping me kind of set things up. Marianne gets there, and this is all about probably 12:45-ish.
Yeah, probably.
12:45
right
a.m.
before Holly, which is the other midwife or midwife assistant, she got there right before my water broke. And so, I was still at that point, I was definitely in, I think, transition. And yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, very intense, for sure.
Let's just leave it at that.
So anyway, then Chelsea, we move her into the birth tub.
Yes.
And
well, I remember, Holly was she was on the phone with Marianne because, again, Marianne was driving. Oh, and then they're doing road work on 440.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of the coronavirus quarantine. So
it took her a while.
The exit to get to our house was closed. So she had to go past it and circle back all the way around. So it's taking her even longer to get there.
So she got there about 1-ish, maybe right before 1 a.m. in the morning.
Did, yeah. And I just got into the birth tub.
You just got in the birth tub. And then you start pushing. And I'll say this too, we went on, for me, this was such a, it's such an awesome experience, and obviously very painful and uncomfortable. But at the same time, we put on Maverick City, Volume 3, praise and worship music. And Chelsea just got in her zone of, pushing. And then I would get you the coconut water. We had the straw there, and so kind of feed you the coconut water, and then you push again. Yeah. And we just wanted you to stay hydrated as much as you could there.
And continue to have some glucose or some sugar. And the reason being, you think contractions, you don't really think about this, and I didn't until Marianne actually explained it. It's, your uterus is a muscle. And so every contraction, think about the most intense muscle contraction or workout you've ever done. Workout is a muscle contraction. But every minute and a half, the most intense you've had for hours. And that's literally what your body is going through. So if you haven't, again, I didn't have dinner So I hadn't had like a sufficient meal. I had the little oatmeal pack, but that's one of the big reasons why she was like, make sure, you know, you're getting electrolytes, but on top of that, make there's like some sort of like sugar or something that's so your body has something to continue to burn, you know, and you don't just tap out in the middle of labor. So that was important for me, for sure. So in between every contraction, we had the big thing of coconut water with the straw Josh would give me, and I would take a big sip. And I'd actually started like feeling the urge to push probably before anybody had gotten there. But I'd like resisted it because I was, you know, I just didn't know. I don't know. It's like it was super intense, and I was like, I should have just like listened to my body and gone with it. But it worked out.
And this is one of the reasons why having a midwife is so great is, you know, just sort of coaching you through everything, and having a doula, you know, just being able to coach you through it. But from when Chelsea got in the tub to when Arwen was born at 1:34 a.m. was probably about 45 minutes or so. Yeah, probably.
I couldn't even tell you. It was
about 45 minutes, and the midwife got there about, you know, was there about until the 35 minutes before you gave birth, and so it was. I mean, when she got there, it was like, you know,
all hands on deck.
She was Arwen was coming. And it's such an amazing experience. I got to catch Arwen, you know, coming out, which was awesome. And just seeing Chelsea go from, I mean, just being in the zone so intense to finally it's like, okay, like just relax. You were able to hold Arwen and
took her out and immediately put her on my chest, which was, you know, I was like, oh my gosh. And the crazy thing is, like, you go from the most intense contractions, pain that you've ever experienced to all of a sudden it just all stops, and you have like endorphins, and it's like, oh my gosh, all for this, and it's amazing. And it's so like not happening, and then all of a sudden, you know, it just happens like instantly. It's such a change. It's just crazy. The body's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah. And God's amazing, you know, just the miracle of birth is just so awesome, and just being able to have you know, so, you know, and I think too, it becomes so much more real. You have it from going in your belly to, especially for me, the guy being able to like see my daughter is just, you know, just awesome. Yeah. It's great.
It's crazy.
It is.
So we got Arwen, like, she's on my chest. And we decided to do like cord blood banking just for like stem cells and things like that. And so Marianne said it would be easier for her to get some of the blood out of the placenta, and then we were gonna encapsulate the placenta for supplementation for me for postpartum. And she said it would be easier just with everything to deliver the placenta outside of the birth pool. So I was gonna go deliver it in bed. Yeah. So I had Arwen still in my arms, so I get up, I'm walking into the bedroom.
I mean, this is graphic. I don't know if you have to give this detail, but feel free.
Well, I have a lot of questions on
great.
it. Usually you deliver the placenta. Like, a lot of people don't know that. Usually once the baby is out, your body continues to have contractions, and you have to actually then deliver the placenta, which is, you know, a lot of people just don't know that. It's not like you're done. Yeah. Which is crazy. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I literally walked in, the placenta just kind of came out, like just fell out.
But we grabbed it quick and we got you in bed.
Yeah. One of the big things they had said leading up to birth was excess vitamin E can actually cause the placenta to retain itself on the walls. So I just made sure to check like my skin cares, any lotions I was using, it can be in that. And then again, that may or may not have had attributed to it, or, you know, that or she was just really ready to come out.
She's ready.
All the things. Yep. But yeah, so that was almost instant. And because of that, almost right away when we like got in bed, the cord had already stopped pulsating. We were gonna do delayed cord clamping as well to make sure all the excess blood that was in the placenta got into Arwen, so she, you know, had all sufficient blood levels and everything like that. So we were able to do that right away. That was quick. And then, I mean, honestly, we laid her on my chest, and she latched almost instantly. She kind of crawled herself over.
That was amazing, so fast. And not everyone, and we understand not everyone has that, you know. But we did, and it was cool. It was great. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. We got a lot of questions here still.
We do.
So I want to talk about a few other things I thought were amazing. One, again, respect for women is just so high and so incredible. The amount of pain and the amount of also just even the time afterwards of just caring for Arwen, you've done such an amazing job, you know, and I just know for all women out there, it's impressive. It's just so impressive. You know, we had concerns. Here's one thing about our dogs. Like, we have a dog that they're King Charles Cavalier Spaniels. We thought one of them was kind of like, in terms of how dogs are, like a baby of the family, like connected to Chelsea at the hip. And we thought, man, he's gonna get jealous that Chelsea's holding this baby all the time and he's gonna get less attention. Well, Marianne had us do this. We took the hat that was on Arwen's head. After she worked a little bit, we took it off, you know, after about maybe an hour, and then had the dogs smell it. And the dogs were smelling it. I thought it was like they were, you know, it was like they were smelling a rabbit or something. Our dogs love, you know,
they go crazy
rabbits and go crazy. And so anyway, she was just smelling it, brought them in. But like, since we're about 4.5 weeks later now, and our dogs are like, it's like Arwen is an extension of Chelsea. Like, they love her just as much. They'll like, you know, lick her and kiss her and nuzzle her, and like they sit over her and protect her.
From day one. This isn't like a thing that they grew into. It was immediate. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really.
So that's been cool.
It was really special.
And then your mom came down right at, you know, so her mom was staying
upstairs
with us, and she was watching the dogs and just sort of there. And she
was gonna we kind of designated her as she was gonna help like with all the postpartum when you give birth at home, because you're in a hospital setting where nurses are checking in and you know, just monitoring different things. It's always good to have a third party available who is aware and can kind of do all that. So
and your mom's so awesome.
Yeah.
It just helps so much.
Yeah. So she was upstairs taking care of the dogs and during the whole birth and labor and praying and all the things. So she came down and met Arwen, and it was really special.
It was special.
Yeah.
It was awesome. What else do we have here?
Let's see here. Is that right?
Josh maternity leave.
People wanted to know like what you did, or yeah.
You know what? I took 2 weeks and really didn't work much at all. I mean, not to say I didn't, you know, answer an email here, do a phone call, but the first 2 weeks it really wasn't much. Week 3, probably back to, you know, probably 70%. Week 4, probably 80%. And now it's close to 100, probably about after, you know, come week 5. But you know, the first week it wasn't much, but again, still for me, it's like part of it is, you know, like there's only so much I can do. You know, it's like she wants you so much to be with you so much, and so I worked a little bit, but really I took quite a bit of time off. I had some deadlines on like a book that I had to finish up, and so come week 2, actually I worked on that some week 3 a lot. I had to spend a lot of time finishing my newest book, but there's that. Questions about essential oils in labor.
Yeah, people wanted to know if we used them. We looked into it. I had like helichrysums and different things available that I was gonna look at using to help prevent tearing and things, but honestly, it all happened so fast.
Yep. If you're going to, I think some of the more calming oils, you know, like
diffusing oils can be awesome.
Yeah, ylang, lavender, you know, I think those can be good. Even frankincense, I think, could be good as well. Let's see, doula. Question about a doula.
Yeah, we did not have a doula, but our midwives were trained to be doulas, like they were certified as that as well. And there were 3. We had our main midwife, and then we had Jessica and Holly. So there were 3 women.
They were all amazing.
They were all incredible. We had the best birth team. Tender Beginnings was who we used, and we will hopefully, they let us use them again for future children, because they were absolutely incredible.
And we love doulas. We have like my cousin's a doula. One of
awesome.
our best friends or one of our very close friends is a doula.
Highly recommend.
You're in the water. Probably 40 minutes, 45. Pain management.
Yeah, pain management. I got a lot of questions about like what do you do or what did you do for pain management? Any specific breathing techniques? So I read Hypnobirthing and Supernatural Childbirth. Those are like the 2 main books that I read going into labor. I would say that helped with any kind of breathing. Honestly, it's one of those things where it helps, I think, more mindset-wise than it does actual pain. I can't necessarily say that it like decreased pain levels, or all of a sudden I implemented breathing one contraction or I didn't another, and all of a sudden like the pain changed.
I will say this though, like you were in a zone. Like I could still tell somewhat, like you were very much in a zone. So you're gonna have the pain, but you were in. I could tell that you'd worked on that. You were.
And I think that's the biggest part is it's not necessarily in the midst of it. It's like actually going into labor. Like, what's your state of mind? I really made sure like that the things that I was focusing on, the affirmations I was going through in my head, the verses I was, reading out loud anytime, it was all like hope and faith based, and knowing too that my body was created to do this in this exact way without intervention. My body, grew this child without any intervention. It was created to then birth this child. Different things like that. So I think having that frame of mind and having like more like that confidence built up, it leaves less room for any kind of question, or like, because of that, I think in the midst of it, like I got a lot of questions like, did you ever hit that point where I don't know if I can do this? I had such a strong foundation of knowing that my body was created to do it that I never hit the point of, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can. Now the pain got to a point where it was intense and it was like, I'm ready, I want this to be done, but it wasn't ever a point of like, I can't, because I knew that that's what my body had been created to do. Like that was stronger than the pain that I was in that moment. So I think mindset, even preparing to, and like what you're like the thoughts you're allowing yourself to dwell on before going into it, like even if you have like thoughts of fear, like combating them right away and addressing them. I mean that's huge. I think even like leading up all through pregnancy, going into labor, it's like preparation. Like you can't do it all of a sudden you're in labor and then start. Then it has to be like this preparation of like all through your pregnancy. It's preparation for that point, and then after too, because I mean we're finding out like you think pregnancy, it's like, oh, you have this deadline of like, oh, and then we're done with pregnancy, but like welcome to the rest of your life of all of a sudden being a parent, which is
and if you guys have kids, of course, you're like, well,
it's a whole nother
line. It's the sleep thing, the lack of sleep, that's really been more challenging, I think. But no, I mean for me, but for you, of course, there's 100 other things. So that's the whole thing. I can never complain because you're doing so much more work and less sleep and everything else. So, but anyways, I want to talk about post-pregnancy too. Maybe people have questions about something like different.
Well, people want to know too. For just off that real quick, like if we had like the emergency plan for birth, like a lot of people said, or for home birth, like what would have happened if something would have gone wrong? Well, going into it, I mean, Marianne, she's a professional. She's over 850 like documented.
She says she's done probably over 1,000 births.
Home births, like
it's a lot.
Very well experienced. So we had a full-on emergency plan. We knew the hospital we were going to. We knew the physician. It was like we had documented like the time frame it would take to get to our house from the hospital. Like she's already had relations, so we had a full thing in place. During labor, they were taking vitals of the baby. They were checking her heartbeat. They had oxygen for me. It's not like you're just out in the woods doing your thing. Which if you want to do that, that's awesome. But they were very professional. They're very prepared. They have, they're even like, through your home visits, they're checking your urine. They're checking the baby's heartbeat. They're checking your blood pressure.
Yeah.
They're doing that all.
These people are as highly trained or more than almost, anyone else I'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'll just say, I mean, like having a home birth, I mean, how much did you love it? Because
it was amazing.
Incredible. Mm-hmm. I look at this a lot of times when people are going to the hospital and listen, and hey, people can do what they want. I understand some of the benefits of being in a hospital and some of the benefits of being at home. But I think for us, also being able to, when you're in the hospital, there's obviously a lot of people that are ill. There are plenty of its own risk factors in there. And being at home for us, it was like, being able to be in your own bed, having
like minutes after she was born.
Being health people, like health fanatics, that were like, hey, I could make you breakfast there, and you could eat something really healthy, and just being able to be there, I think in the comfort of our own home too. Your mom, that just is just
an ease.
It creates, and we really believe and know, according to ancient forms of medicine, that like keeping stress levels low is a big deal. When you're in your own home and you're having comfort there, what that does for your hormones, what that does for recovery. I just think there are so many things that I'm just really glad we were able to, and we were fortunate enough to be in the position to be able to do it at home. And so we had an amazing experience with doing a home birth.
Yeah, we're definitely doing that again. Is there anything you would have done differently?
I would have made sure the tub nozzle wasn't going to break off, for sure. I would have, not let you do the timer. I would have done it myself. outside of that, not really.
Yeah.
That was great. I mean, it was just a great experience.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done anything differently either, except call Marianne a little sooner, just because then I felt bad. She rushed so much to get there.
Yeah. What do we have here? We have adjustment.
Yeah, she was.
So I adjusted maybe a day after, 2 days.
No, it was
no,
the
day
night.
after.
It was that night.
I guess
have
it
a picture.
was. Oh, you know, you're right. It was.
It was right after she was weighed.
That's right. So it was probably 3 hours afterwards. 4 hours. She was 8 pounds, 8 ounces.
Yes, 21.5 inches long.
And we've told everybody her name, right?
Yeah. Oh, Arwyn Elyse.
Arwyn Elyse Axe. So Arwen, Arwyn, and Elyse, Elyse. So Arwyn Elyse Axe.
Arwyn Elyse. Yep.
So, and we actually got the name. We're both, we love great and epic movies. We saw the movie Lord of the Rings and loved the name Arwen. I mean, we really loved it. We saw what it meant. It means evening star. And then actually another, in Welsh, it means noble maiden. And so anyways, but Elise does. So anyways, but we just loved that name and felt like that was her.
And that's Liv Tyler in the movie. She's the elf. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, Arwen, that's in the movie. It's like, yes, it is.
Yeah,
Just watch it again.
She's the Aragon's future wife, so it's great. So healing postpartum. So
yeah, things I've been doing, must-haves, diet.
hardest thing for Chelsea here is she is so active. And in ancient Chinese medicine, and I had looked this up, and then our midwife said the same thing. They call it sitting month.
The month of sit.
So the month of sit. So afterwards, and you did. You were so good. Like you sat and you've sat, and now I started walking a little bit. 4.5 weeks later, so now you're walking, but probably won't work out for till 6 weeks.
Yeah, my midwife said 6 weeks or at least 2 weeks with no bleeding, whichever comes later.
Yeah.
So.
Diet-wise, you've been eating really healthy. Like breakfast every morning, it tends to be fruit, like either blueberries and cherries, some oatmeal, and some bone broth protein or collagen protein.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it every single morning. I bring her in bed. I'll bring her chocolate bone broth protein with collagen, that drink, and then your fruit and oatmeal.
Yep.
And been doing that every morning, doing like a little bit of cinnamon in there, that sort of thing, good for blood. The big thing we want to focus on is building blood after you give birth. Think about it, because breast milk comes from blood. You've just created a placenta. Your body is, so you need to really support blood. So we've been doing prenatal, omega-3 high in DHA, so prenatal omega-3. We've been doing placenta encapsulations. We've been doing a little bit of liver capsules because it's so good for your blood. So buffalo or beef liver capsules. And then on occasion, we've done a little bit of astragalus and Dong Quai. Those are the big
Probiotics too, but yeah.
Probiotics, and then the blood builder, or do a blood builder supplement that has things like Dong Quai, has a little bit of iron in it. Make sure you get one that has a lot of these herbs in it and it's easy to digest.
Yeah.
And if you don't do blood builder, again, Dong Quai, astragalus, those are the big, and that's what you've been taking.
Yeah, for supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then honestly, for eating throughout the day, I've been doing just like soups, stews.
Yep.
I have a pressure cooker, like just with some quinoa again.
I would say the big things are vegetables, a whole grain, and an organic meat.
Yeah, and the veggies are all steamed, so like everything is cooked and warm. Just easy to digest, easy healing on the body foods. It's very plain, bland, but I mean, my body's done really, really well with it, and so is Arwen too, just with, again, everything that I'm eating goes to her, and her digestive system is not matured yet, so
because we had one night where we got food to go and there's a little bit of spices in it, and you could tell like caused some gas and digestive issues in her. So we said, you know what, we are just keeping it simple right now. Is that a question on vitamin K?
Yeah, they wanted if we did vitamin K injections.
Yeah, we didn't do vitamin K injections. We did a little bit orally. So we were doing a little bit orally, and I think there's a lot of different opinions there. I mean, mine really goes back to, I believe God created our bodies to be able to do things without interventions, without extra shots and all this other stuff. Like God created our body's immune systems to develop through exposures outside and being around family members and animals and all the things. And so we really believe that our immune systems develop that way. And in our bodies, and so, but we did decide to do a little bit of some of the vitamin K oral vitamin K drops. So, and I'll just say again, like Chelsea's been so amazing. Like you have been such a rock star. I use the word warrior, like you were a warrior through birth, even right now, taking through Arwen. It's just been so impressive. Just you getting in your mom zone and and just rocking it. So anyways, it's just respect to all the moms out there, but for me in particular, like you just have crushed it. It's been awesome.
I just want to say too, like this is our story. Like this is by no means the right way to do it. Anything that we've said, whatever, you know, again, I think everybody should be educated on their options, and then whatever you have peace with and that works for you, that's amazing, and that you should feel empowered to do that. So we by no means in sharing this are saying this is how you should do it. This is just what's happened for us in our experience and our story. And we just wanted to share it with you, and then also share it with our future selves, so we can look back on it and remember.
That's right. That's right. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being part of our journey. Have you more questions? Feel free to throw them up there.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a live or something. Answer some, more questions, more on that.
So
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.